So for the basketball one, I don't necessarily want to walk through coding it all with you. What I really want you to do is give it a shot on your own. But I want to walk through a solution, not the solution, a solution that I came up with, which actually you might even have seen. It might be something directly available to you. So what I want you to do is a little bit of the honor system, and your ledger will tell me if you're honorable, is try and build it from scratch. Try and build it on your own. But I don't want you to get stuck, early on in the second or third of these you're going to try. So let's talk about the way I solve this. So when I looked at the data, really the thing that is the most important is the word attendance. Yes, I can limit that down to which tag I'm looking at, but it doesn't really matter because I can just go through all the data and say, is the word attendance inside of there? It's a little bit slow because I'm literally searching every bit of data on the whole page. So it would be faster for me to only search data inside of, for example, a table tag or inside of a cell tag if it's in such a thing, or a div tag or whatever. But it may or may not help, it may or may not speed anything up. So basically, what I'm saying is, if attendance is inside of there, then the number is next is true. And so remember, the data was actually a strong tag that the attendance was inside of. And so it's actually it doesn't say attendance colon that it says attendance, and then the next thing to show up is the tag. And so if the number is next, which I created as an attribute, then what I do is I go and I parse out the attendance after replacing the comma inside the attendance with an empty character. So I can't parse a comma inside the number, but I can take the comma out and parse that, and then I can return the number. So again, you might have, if you tried this on your own, done it a much more complicated way, where you're searching for tags or whatnot. You could have been searching for a strong tag, and the next thing to come up that could have been. There's a lot of different ways to do this, but this is the way I came up with it, and I want you to take a look at it yeah, as an option. Um, so let me get that one out of the way, and let's go to the season one. So for the season one, I do have to deal with the start tag. Um, so what I want to do is I want to look for a TD tag that has the name data stat inside of it. And you may or may not have picked up inside of that. And then the data stat is part of an attribute that the author of the page added. It's not an HTML attribute on its own. It's something that helps us identify and parse out the data. And it has the value of date game when we're about to get a date from that table. And so we can see here's a great way where the creator of this web page, the creator of this data, helped us parse the data by putting in some extra tags, some extra attributes on the data to help us identify which column is which. So when I get to a start tag and I see I'm in a TD and the the attribute value is a date game, then the next thing I'm going to be is in a date. And so when I get to the next tag after that, which is actually an A tag, excuse me. Um, so when I hit the A tag, then I know I'm in the date. Well, then I know the URL of that A tag when I'm in the date is the next page that's coming up. And I don't have to actually do anything with that. I'm tagging that date. I'm capturing that date from noting the fact there's a date inside of there. But then I'm just simply going to call that one we just looked at, the attendance parser, for that URL to get the number of fans, and then I'm just going to add in that number of fans to my attribute, which is the total number of fans I'm counting up for this season. So this is a cool little way where I can actually pass along. Now, in this case, notice I'm using URL join, and I'm basically, the reason I need to use that is to take the partial URL that is the ahref, so it's just has a slash inside of it, and I'm joining that with the full URL for the entire website. So that way I can absolutely go and navigate to that, because the browser does this automatically, but Python needs you to have the full URL. It doesn't know where it's starting from. It needs the domain name, the .com, all that stuff has to go with that. So that's where URL join is really, really important here. So again, if you plan on turning in attendance or seasoned fan parser, I'm expecting you to essentially start this from scratch and rebuild it. And you should have a ledger that shows you working for 20 minutes, half an hour, however long it takes you for to rebuild it, maybe a little bit longer, possibly even a very different solution. But I didn't want you to have to sit through a whole one. I'd prefer that you try and build it from scratch. And then the one you can really earn points on then is the career one, which I've given you nothing on. So you can go through and solve that from scratch. Very much a similar strategy to which we saw right here. All right, so good luck with these, and I'm looking forward to seeing your work.